did you like? How did you get into it? Like, how did you get your sexologist license?
During the kind of crossroads of my life, because I had been doing corporate communications for 8 years, and I wasn't happy in corp comms. I wasn't happy. So I was at the crossroads of my life. Then I realized I wanted to really dedicate my life to helping people. So I started a non-profit which closed down after 2 years. So I was at the crossroad at that point, and I asked myself again, okay, now I'm back to the drawing board. By that time I had a Bachelor of Arts in Communication, I had a Master's in Public Policy, thinking that I would do NGO work, and I really asked myself, what do I really want to do? So at that time I was doing volunteer counselling work, doing telephone helpline for 3 years actually, and I realized that I was very surprised that I actually have a gift with working with people. I have a lot of empathy, and I have a lot of patience when I'm working with someone in distress. So I really wanted to support people in some form of counselling, and I also wasn't interested to just be a general counsellor, and I wanted to be very specialised in sexuality, and it's of course not offered in Singapore and not even in Australia at that time. They didn't have a doctorate. So I did my doctorate in San Francisco. I commuted back and forth, got the doctorate, all the paperwork, everything done. And so the moment I finished my doctorate plus all the other trainings, I came back, started my practice, and this was 12 years ago. So just to answer like why I went into this, it's because I always thought sex was a very important part of all our lives. And I thought, oh, it should be easy because I like sex, I enjoy sex. And then I went to sex school and realized that there were so many other things that was not obvious to someone, and something that I am very passionate about, which I'm so happy that I'm able to do only after like the 10 years of my practice, is now I actually start to be able to work with people with cancer. I'm like a locum counsellor, locum sexuality counsellor with Cancer Society. So I get to work with cancer survivors on their sex and relationship intimacy challenges for cancer survivors, and it's very close to me because my mom had breast cancer and she passed away from breast cancer. And now I'm also getting to work with people with disabilities on their sexuality as well. So like these are the things that people normally don't think about when they think of sex. They just think of themselves, and even people who are the heterosexuals, they don't think about people who identify differently. Our friends who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and intersex, so we are sheltered, and we tend to see world through only those lenses. So when I became more exposed and more educated, I could not help but want to help more people. So I wanted to help people in the area of sex because I thought it was important, and I couldn't bear the idea that back then, 14 years ago in Singapore, like all the messages about sex was very contrived. It was all about like, don't get pregnant, teenage pregnancy, it's worrying, like the state of the world is like terrible. And then you open a magazine and it's always like tips and tricks, how to please your partner, and it's like, okay, this is all like pretty much so cliche, and it's really not helpful at all. And there's so much more to it, including mutual pleasure, and even now the state of Singapore, as you can tell, with technology and upskirts videos and a lot of violence towards women. I think this is the fruit of what we get from being in a country that actually outwardly is very open, but inwardly actually there's a lot of censorship that's actually happening in popular media. And so people are frustrated and going to other forms of media to speak up and to do something. So I really saw this a few years into my practice, and I was really frustrated, so I started to make my own videos on YouTube. And so by now I already have about 700 videos on YouTube, because I kept getting asked the same questions again and again and again, and I really wanted to leave like a body of work so that people can have access to it no matter what happened to me. It has become very important to me because I see myself as holding space, because there have been many times that I wanted to quit. It's not easy to even survive, and to also be the recipient of slut shaming and the recipient of harassment. many times I ask myself, like, why the hell am I doing this? It's not like I'm making a lot of money. Like, people look at me and they think that I'm a slut, and they think that I'm this and that, and I bear the brunt of a lot of this nonsense that actually no human should have to put up with. So I totally get how a lot of people, especially younger than me, are feeling, and how overwhelming it can be for them. And so like, yeah, it is important for me back then to really see myself as like putting my stick in the sand and saying like, I will not move, just like Lord of the Rings, like I will not move. Like, literally, I told myself, somebody needs to stand up for positive sexuality, and somebody who has the credentials needs to be in Singapore to support those people who need help and don't know who else to go to. I have the most credentials, and I have the heart for the people, and I came back wanting to help my people. And again, I have approached the government and saying I have these credentials, and I think a lot of places actually think of me as a joke. But 12 years on, and I'm still here, and I'm so happy that finally, after so long, I'm able to do some of the things that I really always have wanted to do, which is to work with people with cancer and disability. So these are some of the things that is blood, sweat and tears, and actually it's quite thankless, and actually it's not like, look at me, it's not really that. It's really about, like, I just want to serve and help people.
Yeah, I think, like, especially for people who are working in a space that is so taboo, I think it really takes a lot of dedication to have lasted this long.
Yes, so I'm able to do what I do because I have simplified my life, and I don't have big expenses, I don't have kids, and I'm not married, and it just worked out that way. And even then, as a sexologist who's not married, I also get shamed, like, oh, what's wrong with you? You can't keep a guy.
That's another thing.
Yeah. So there's all these kinds of things. They don't understand that actually, if I had a family, I don't think I want to do this, because it's actually so thankless and so time consuming.
Yeah.
I have chose to keep my life really simple because of the amount of responsibility and emotional labor that I put into my work. Lots of it is just not paid. Like, for instance, the social media and the marketing, I'm not paid for all these other things that I do, like YouTube video. I cannot monetize on YouTube because my content is relating to sexuality. And the clients that come in, they come in with a lot of like stuff that is really heavy. People on the verge of divorce, people who are separated, people who are having lots of anxiety and things like that. How am I going to support people to the fullest capacity and have a full life? Something needs to be simpler. And so I also don't associate with people who like have complicated lives, and I only have healthy relationships in my life, including friendships.
Where you condo the people, your life.
So yeah, I'm just very like I just had to simplify my life, because really every week I'm meeting new people, and it's actually very overwhelming for me as an empath and as someone who's an introvert. People assume things about me, and they don't know me, and then they are already putting judgments and projections onto me.